Hey everyone, it's Hannah, and in today's video we're going to do this full face of drugstore and affordable makeup. This is my first talk-through tutorial, and I really hope that you enjoy. I go step by step through everything with you, what kind of brushes I like to use. Everything is very detailed in this video, and I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get into the look. Okay, so we're going to get started, and we're going to pin our hair back. I do already have moisturizer on that's been sitting for a few minutes, and I'm going to go in with my primer next. This is the CoverGirl Velvet Blur Primer. I really like this one. I think I'm getting close to the end of it. I've found with this, at least for my skin, I have combo skin, so I do get oily, and then I also have dry patches that a little bit goes a long way. When I first got this, I think I was applying too much, and it wasn't pilling, but it definitely did affect the texture of my foundation. Kind of pat that in all over. After that, we're going to go in with foundation. This is my current favorite foundation. It's the L'Oreal True Match foundation in N1. This foundation has been around forever. It's pretty liquidy, but has medium buildable coverage, and this is a really good shade match for me as well. This is an e.l.f. foundation brush, the ultimate blending brush. I like kind of dense brushes like this for foundation. Sometimes I switch and I will just go in with a sponge, but I've been really loving brushes lately. So I'm going to put 2 pumps of that on the back of my hand, and I'm going to thin it out. That way when we dip our brush, it's not going to be one whole pump of foundation on the brush and then trying to blend that in. And then I'll take whatever on my finger and kind of smooth it. And then I like to pat. I don't like to swipe or blend in circles. I just like to pat the foundation in. I feel like this gives you the most coverage and the least amount of streaks. And then now that we have a thin layer, I'm going to take my brush and dip and just pat. And this foundation is really easy to build up as well. So you can kind of work on sections of your face, and then if you come back and say, oh, I want to cover more of this area on my cheek, it's really easy to build up that way. If my skin is particularly broken out and I need more coverage, I will spot conceal and then put the foundation on top. I'm going to continue patting this in. I do also try to avoid my under eye and eyelid as much as possible with the foundation because we are going to put concealer there, and the more product under your eyes is going to make it crease more, at least for me. So I try to avoid putting it directly under my eyes. So now I see over here I want a little bit more coverage, so I'm just going to build that up. And then anything else, I feel like spot concealing is better than, instead of a third layer of foundation that can get really heavy really fast. My favorite concealers lately have been the Essence Silky Blur concealers. I just finished a tube of the Morphe Wake Up concealer. I really did like this. And then I replaced it with the Essence concealer. I have the shades 20 and the shades 80, and I'll show you how I like to use the two shades. And I do like to blend out my concealer with a damp sponge. This is the AOA Studio, the Paul sponges, and Wet n Wild makes a really good sponge too. So I like to take the shade 80 for the majority of the under eye. A little on my forehead, a little on my nose, any kind of spots as well around my face. This one could use a little extra coverage. Now I'm going to take the shade 20. I'm going to put that right here and a little bit up in the corner of my eyes, and then a little bit just right in the very highlight points of my face. I have wrung water out of this sponge as much as I possibly could. I feel like that helps from picking up too much product. And with a sponge, you just want to press. So similar to the foundation brush, you just want to really press everything in and not swipe. Now that's blended in, and I do always save my eyes for last, and I try to blend out the 80 shade first, and then go in and blend the lighter shade and bring that onto my eyelid as well. I like to use concealer as eyeshadow primer. So see how blanked out that is? I really love this concealer. I'll take it around my nose too. I get a lot of redness there. So the difference is pretty dramatic. And this concealer is $6. And it hasn't broken me out. It's not fragranced. It's just a really, really nice, affordable option. But even besides the price, it's just a really, really good concealer. I also really like the e.l.f. camo line. The regular camo and the hydrating, those are both really good options as well. The Wet n Wild Incognito concealer is really good. So there are plenty of options, but the Essence has been my favorite lately. So now we've got a blank canvas to work with. I'm going to take the Revolution translucent baking powder. I believe they changed the packaging of this, but I still have plenty, so I've just been working through it. And I like to keep mine, this is a old ColourPop container. I don't think they sell this powder anymore, but I like to keep it in here so I can dip into the cap. I like to use Velvet Powder Puffs, and I like to dip. And because I do have oily skin and I prefer a pretty matte base, I'm going to use a lot of powder to keep everything locked in. So you just want to pat out any creases. You do not want to powder over a crease because it's just going to set it in place. So I have my powder, and you want to press very lightly at first so that the puff does not pick up the concealer because the concealer is not dried down yet. This Essence concealer doesn't stay very tacky, but see, it just smooths it out without picking it up. Sometimes trying to set your concealer can almost make it patchy if the concealer is too wet and you press too hard with the powder. And I do like to set around my nose crease, and right here, especially on the cheek, I get very oily in the center of my face. So that's where I prioritize the majority of my powder. And we're just going to pat out this crease as well. Dip into the powder. Press very lightly. And then once I feel like it's pretty set, I will put a little bit more pressure, but you want that first layer of powder. Very light pressure. Then I like to set down the bridge of my nose, a little bit on the sides because we are going to contour our nose in a minute. Upper lip, the chin especially. I get creased smile lines throughout the day, so I like to focus some powder there as well. My forehead creased a little bit. So now that my main areas are set, I'm going to take the powder puff and just lightly press a little bit more powder all over. But this does not have to be as concentrated. This is just to help with our powder products that we're going to put on not stick and not go patchy. I do also like to use powder foundations or pressed powders to set the rest of the face, but this has just really been working for me lately. So now that our face is set, I'm going to go in and contour. I've been using the ColourPop Gone Metal palette to contour. I've been mixing these two shades right here. If I'm using the Cloud 9 palette, there's a couple good options in here. It's going to depend on your skin tone, the intensity that you want, whether you want a more contoured look or a bronzy look. I do have a few drugstore bronzers that I really like, but lately I've just been liking contour and blush. I like to use a kind of domed fluffy brush for this. So I will just dip between the two powders very lightly because this is eyeshadow, it's pigmented. Tap off the excess, and then where your cheekbone hollows are going to be completely dependent on your face. Mine are right here, and I don't want to really go below that at all. So I will start with the most pigment towards my ear, and I'm buffing very lightly as to not disrupt my base that we just did, the foundation, concealer, and powder. So I'm going to dip a little bit more because you can always build up, but it's really, really difficult to try to blend out something that's too pigmented, too heavy. You could just take your foundation brush or more powder and buff it out, but I feel like I get the best result when I build it up slowly. Also, because we use translucent powder all over the face, it's going to blend with our powder products because I didn't wipe off the excess, and it makes it easier to blend, and it's not going to be so pigmented right away. So that is kind of a light contour. I don't really like really heavy or really cut cheekbones. I don't feel like it works with my facial features. So now we're going to go on this side, just lightly in circles. And again, you want to keep it from going too low because then it will drag your face down. Just going to build that up slowly. And I've really been liking cool toned cheek products even more lately. I feel like it goes with a lot of the eyeshadow looks that I've been doing. And then you can kind of go back and forth and see if it looks even. And I'm happy with that for now. And I'm going to take the same two shades for my nose. For my nose, I like to use a slightly angled, really, really fluffy brush. And I'm going to dip back and forth and really tap it off. And for your nose contour, again, it's going to depend really specifically on your facial features. I like to go almost on the top of my nose, not on the sides. because I want to accentuate my nose shape and not bring it out farther. But it is personal preference as well. And I like to blend it into my eyebrows. And I haven't picked up any more product. I'm again just blending. And you can do all of these same things, all of the contouring with cream before, during your foundation. It's all kind of personal preference. I've really just been liking, I did pick up more powder now. I've really just been liking powder products recently. That's always kind of been my preference since I do have oily skin. And I'm just taking a slight line across the tip of my nose. Pick up a little bit more, go underneath. I like to do kind of like a V, two slants, and then buff it, and a little bit on the sides of my nose. And I feel like that brings definition back to the center of my face to match with the cheeks. I really like the way it looks. So I'm just gonna keep blending a little bit. And then I like to take my powder puff with no additional powder and just kind of clean up if I went a little too far, or I didn't get too far in the center of my nose. There's a lot of times I will use this palette for my face, my eyes. I use this black as eyeliner. This one is a really good option. ColourPop has tons of palettes. The majority of my eyeshadow palette collection is ColourPop. I am sad that they don't have magnetized palettes anymore. I really liked to mix around my palettes, and I thought that was really fun, but they stopped making them like that. But they're still a really affordable, good option. I've been mixing two blushes lately. The CoverGirl Skin Enhancer blush in 410 Rose Latte. It's a marbled, slightly glowy blush, but there's no glitter or like big shimmer particles or anything in it. And I've been also using one of the ColourPop heart blushes, and this one's in Cupid's Bow. It's a really light lavender shade. So what I've been doing, I switch between blush brushes, but I'm just going to use, this is an old Morphe brush. It's just a small angle brush, and dip into the CoverGirl first. And I don't like to wear a lot of blush, so I'll just lightly put it right above the contour and just kind of lightly press it in because I don't want to blend it all over my cheek. For certain looks, a lot of blush I feel like can add to it, but I don't like to wear a lot of blush day to day. Then I will take the ColourPop on the same brush and kind of pat right over top of it. A blush color like this, where it's really cool and really light, can kind of change the majority of your blushes when you put it over top. Then I'm going to go in with my favorite highlight. This is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Silky Highlighter in Soft Pearl Era. This is the only highlight that I've used since I got it. And something new I've been doing recently is using an eyeshadow brush for my highlight. I've always used brushes that are designed for highlighter, but sometimes I feel like it comes too far down on the cheek, which when blended with your blush can look really pretty, but I've really been liking the look of just focusing it on the top of the cheekbone and not blending it so far out. So I'll just kind of go back and forth. And I like to start right here at the highest point. Buff it out, get a little bit more, and then try to keep it as right on the cheekbone as I can. And you still want the edges to be blended, but I feel like a smaller brush has really helped give me the actual highlighted cheekbone look that I want, instead of the highlight being so far down mixed with the blush. So again, I'm just gonna go back and forth, go right at the highest point, and blend. And these highlighters, well, this is the only shade that I have, but if the other shades are the same, they're really soft, really smooth, very, very fine shimmer. They don't have chunks of glitter. The shimmer particles aren't huge. They're just really nice and smooth and shiny. And I really, really like this highlighter. I believe this was $9. And then I like to go right on the ball of my nose, right on the very tip, and right down the center, and then I don't go over the little line across that we did. And then a little bit where your nose kind of swoops. And that is it for complexion. That's all that I've been doing. Just that same routine on repeat. And the products, I do really like all of these products, but you can use whatever you have. These products are all relatively affordable and easily accessible, but whatever you have will work. To try different techniques, try different placements of things, especially cheap products. It can really change your whole look already using what you have. And then I think for eyeshadow today, I want to use the ColourPop Cloud 9 palette that I mentioned a little bit earlier. This is one of my favorite palettes. I really love cool tones, and this is a really cool tone palette with some really pretty shimmers. I really like the tones of the mattes as well, but the shimmers in here really are beautiful. You can see it easier if I let my eyebrows relax. I do have hooded eyes and uneven hoods, so the way that I do my eyeshadow is different, I feel like, than some other tutorials. But again, it's based totally on your eye shape. But I'm just going to show you some of the techniques that I like to do, the colors I like to use, and this palette is a really good option if you like cool tones. But I have many other favorite cool tone palettes, quite a lot from ColourPop as well. I don't set the concealer on my eyelids, so I'm just going to pat the creases out. I'm going to go in first with this cool tone brown right here, and I'm going to go in with a fluffy blending brush. And I like to kind of stamp at first so that the majority of the color is on the outer part of my eye. And it depends too if you're going to do a halo eye or a more standard eyeshadow placement. I like to hold towards the end of the brush in little circles on the edges. With pretty light pressure. And I like to go back and forth and do the eyes together at the same time, like each step at the same time. So I'm going to stamp again. And blend in small circles. And another tip that I like to do for hooded eyes specifically is to constantly check where the eyeshadow is when your eyes are relaxed. Because when your eyelid is open, you want the color above the eyelid since the hood is sitting on top of it. So you need to, lift your eyebrows to get the color in place, but then you want to check too that it's blended high enough. Okay, so I like that first layer of pigment. I'm going to go in with a little bit more, and I do like to tap. And I'm just going to slightly add that again, really light pressure. Just add a little bit more. Because again, just like cheek products, you can add more, but it's really hard to blend out or take away pigment once you've added it. And then you kind of, I have a mirror right here behind me. You just want to kind of look and see that it's even, because this hood is lower than this one, so I just want to make sure that I've got a good amount of color above each eyelid. And I think I want to use this shimmer shade. It's a blue with some pink and I think orange shimmers in it. So what I like to do for shimmers, you can obviously use your fingers or you can use flat brushes like this. Slightly denser packing brushes work really good. I'm going to go in with a flat brush right now, and I'm going to pick up some of that color, and then I'm going to close my eye and kind of place it and pull, and just start lightly pulling at it. Again, you don't want to use hard pressure around your eyes, but I like to build the shimmer up gradually so I can control where it's going. And because we didn't set our concealer, it's going to stick where you put it. And see, when I open my eyes, the shimmer is pretty much gone. So what I like to do, even if I'm not using concealer to do a cut crease or anything, I like to put my shimmer above my eyelid. And with flat brushes like this, you can really take the tip of the brush and keep it where you want and then drag down. This is probably my favorite eyeshadow placement style. And then I'm going to take that same brush that we used initially and lightly, again, just kind of press around the edges. And with a smaller brush, full tone brown, and kind of put it in between our first color and the shimmer. You can use a small blending brush for this too. Those work really good for placements like this. And then back to the first brush, blend the edges. And then we're just going to repeat the shimmer on this other eye as well. And this is just a really quick eye look. With just a few shadows. You can get, of course, really, really creative with eyeshadows. But this is one of my favorite kind of looks with a really, really shimmery eyelid. And then you just want to check again. I think I need more shimmer above on this side. And then that deeper matte again. You can also use a deeper shimmer in between the two colors if you're going to be doing a lot of different shades out in the outer corner. But I just want to keep this kind of simple and a little bit lighter. Same first blending brush. For the lower lash line, I also like to use shader type brushes. even like really, really tiny shader brushes like this. And I'm going to go into that first color we used. And I pretty much keep my lower lash line color to like half out. I'm not going to do any black in the waterline today. If I was going to do that, I would bring it in more. Just kind of connect in this corner right here as well. I really like a shimmery inner corner and brow bone, but this is a matte white. That would work really well too, but I'm going to pick up the shimmer on a tiny little brush right in the inner corner, and then I really like to blend my inner corner highlight into the shimmer up here, like in the curve of my eye. I think that looks really cool. So that's what I like to do. I feel like it makes it really bright and opens your eye. And then a little bit on the brow bone. And then I'm going to take an angled brush and this black right here in the palette and stamp along my lash line with the angle of the brush, this taller part, out this way. And I like to go on the outer, probably like outer third. I'll do this even if I'm not going to do a wing. I think it gives enough drama on the outer lash and to make sure eyelashes look thicker. Okay, so that is the eyeshadow all done. And again, any colors you want to use, any palettes that you already have. To finish the eyes, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Makeup Proof eyeliner on my upper waterline, curl my eyelashes, and do 2 coats of mascara. And I usually just tightline the upper waterline for most looks. On your lashes. I like to kind of pump my eyelash curler. I feel like it gives the most lift at the base of your lashes. And then my favorite mascara is the Maybelline Lash Sensational Body Mascara. This is the waterproof, very black one. And I like to start at the base of my lashes and pull up and wiggle. That way the majority of the product is at the base of my lashes, and I find it doesn't weigh the length of my lashes down, and it helps hold a curl better that way. And I like to really focus out here on the outer corner and kind of scoop, roll the brush it up, and then take the tip of the mascara wand and really focus on these outer lashes. I feel like it fans it out. So wiggle and then pull, and I feel like that really helps hold the curl. All right, second coat. I just kind of like to add to what we already did and not really brush through so much and disrupt the overall shape that we've gotten. Okay, and I don't like to wear lower lash line mascara, so that's the mascara done. And I'm gonna take my powder puff. I have a few little shimmer all out right there. And then for eyebrows, I just brush the hairs up. Up and over. And then I like to kind of flick the tails out. And this is the Maybelline Express Brow Gel in black brown. And it has an interesting comb. So I like to take the long bristles and start kind of in the middle of my brow. I don't want the majority of the product right in the front. And just comb through. Make sure I'm keeping that general shape at the tail. Brush the front part up. And again, this is going to depend on your brow shape, your brow preferences. This brow gel has a really, really good hold. And I like the tint that it gives to my brows. And that's the brows done. I keep it pretty simple. Now we can do lip combo. Lip liner and lipstick are some of my favorite makeup products, period. I especially love lip liner. I think today we'll do something plainer and cool toned. So I'm going to take the Morphe Rocksteady lip liner. This is my absolute favorite lip liner. I like to start in the middle of my bottom lip, go a little bit under where your lip line is, go to the corner and connect it on the outside of my lip line very slightly, but keep the corner where it naturally is so that the overline stays in the center and it looks more natural that way. Because especially on my top lip folds under on the sides. So overlining too heavy can look really unnatural. And then I like to fill in the corners. And then I really like a defined Cupid's bow. So I will start right here in the middle, go up and over. So just slightly above where my natural Cupid's bow is. And then follow the natural shape of my lip to the corner. But see, that gives you volume here, but keeps the sides of your lips their more natural shape. If you have a lip shape like mine, up and over. And I like to fill in the corners here as well. And then I'm going to use the ColourPop Lippy Stick in the shade Dream Date. This is one of my favorites. And I like to kind of just swipe lightly and blend. But I keep it mostly in the center. Same on the top, just light little swiping motions. I'm going to take my lip liner again. Go around the edges. Kind of pat together. And that's the lip combo to go with the eyeshadow. Pretty simple. This is the finished look using all drugstore and affordable makeup. And I really appreciate you watching. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video.